I speak for the normies, you know. I speak for that, I think, vast middle that is tired of the partisanship.
I had a different take on how to earn a living in the business, which was at the time the salaries were going crazy. People were getting $20 million a film.
George Clooney roasted by Bill Maher, Hollywood's golden boy has hit rock bottom. Once the epitome of charm and class, Clooney now finds himself at the center of a career meltdown so explosive it could rival one of his blockbuster thrillers. And the catalyst for this chaos? A public feud with none other than Bill Maher, the razor-sharp host of Real Time, known for his unfiltered critiques. This isn't just a clash of egos, it's a battle that has left Clooney scrambling to salvage his reputation while Maher refuses to back down. Let's dive into every twist and turn of this shocking Hollywood scandal. George Clooney, once untouchable in Hollywood, is now facing a career crisis that no one saw coming. It all started with a political ad meant to showcase Clooney's activism and relevance in today's ever-changing industry. But instead of applause, the ad became a viral disaster. Critics called it tone-deaf and desperate, accusing Clooney of being out of touch with the public. The backlash was swift and brutal, with social media turning the once-beloved actor into a punchline overnight. For someone who had spent decades cultivating an image of effortless cool, this was a devastating blow.
It's been a while since I did, 15 loads of laundry in a day and mop floors and, all these doors over here I stained. And it was, I always say I felt like my mother in 1964 because she had 2 kids and no help, and I don't know how she did it now. I have more sympathy for her now than ever. And I thought it wasn't getting enough play for a genocide. That should get a lot of airtime, I thought. And and since I'm not responsible for making policy or anything. You've got Jeb Bush, he can talk about that later. But my feeling was I can bring attention and make it louder. And so that was a lot of there was a lot of youth groups and a lot of church groups and people. Everybody was really trying to put it on the map because we were worried about it. And it was a very hard thing to put on the map and keep on the map.
Hollywood insiders began whispering about whether Clooney's time in the spotlight was finally over. The ad that sparked this entire fiasco was produced by Vote Common Good and featured Clooney delivering what should have been an inspiring message about voter responsibility. Before you cast your vote in this election, Clooney said, think about how it will impact the people you care about the most. But instead of resonating with audiences, the ad was slammed as painfully out of touch. Viewers mocked its overly polished tone and accused Clooney of pandering to an audience that no longer cared about celebrity endorsements. The internet exploded with memes and parodies, turning what should have been a simple PSA into a career-defining misstep. In another era, Clooney might have weathered this storm unscathed, but Hollywood has changed, and not in his favor. The grace once extended to icons like him has all but disappeared in today's unforgiving media landscape. One bad move can spiral into a full-blown public relations nightmare, and Clooney learned this lesson the hard way. As younger stars rise to prominence and social media amplifies every misstep, even legends like Clooney are finding it harder to stay relevant.
I will say, it's just not the same as having all of you guys here.
So it's that collective experience. You want everybody to feel it.
Well, I mean, there are certain movies in particular, horror films, comedies, that really are best with a crowd, with a group of people. It's not, when you watch it at home, you're like, eh. That's how I watch comedies now. Eh. And then I, put some clothes on and sure. Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I guess eventually, I'd been asking for a long time for a bicycle. Mm-hmm. And my parents got me, there was like Schwinn, it was the groovy. Mm-hmm. And then there was Huffy.
That's what I had.
And then there was the next one, which was like, it was the Kmart one. I can't remember, it was like Murray or something.
Murray.
No, Murray was, whatever it was, but it came in a box that you had to put together.
For someone who had long been considered untouchable, this sudden fall from grace was nothing short of shocking. Determined to regain control of his narrative, Clooney launched an ambitious media tour aimed at repairing his tarnished image. His team devised a bold strategy: secure an appearance on Real Time with Bill Maher. The plan seemed foolproof. Clooney would charm the audience with his wit, offer a heartfelt apology for the ad, and deliver exclusive political insights that would remind people why they once revered him. But what should have been a straightforward PR move quickly turned into a nightmare when Maher refused to play along. When Clooney's team first approached Real-Time producers with their proposal, they expected enthusiasm. Instead, they were met with an immediate rejection. Maher reportedly dismissed the idea outright, saying, "This isn't a platform for celebrity rehab. For Maher, allowing Clooney to use his show as a crisis management tool would undermine its credibility as a space for serious political discourse. The rejection sent shockwaves through Clooney's camp, but they weren't ready to give up just yet. Undeterred by Maher's initial refusal, Clooney's team returned with an updated pitch.
I did one play. I'd done a lot of plays in LA,
Right.
but I did one play at Steppenwolf about 30 years ago. It's been a long time, and I'm a wreck. I'm a nervous
Are you?
wreck. Sure. I mean, it's a very intimidating world.
Did you feel like this is something you need to check off? You know,
Did you say check off?
career-wise? Yes.
No, look. I wrote the screenplay for Good Night, Good Luck, and
Yeah.
Grant and I wrote it, and then we decided to try. We thought it was a good time to start hearing those words again from Murrow, and we thought a play would be a good place to do it. We stayed up all night talking, and then
Oh, really?
I started writing her
You wrote her?
a bunch of letters.
Like on pen and paper?
Yeah. We still write letters.
You still write
We
letters?
leave them on the pillow. This is not working out at all, this interview. Well, I thought it was, I remember the first time I read it, and I thought that I thought it was a pretty funny idea. The idea of tying bad television to the CIA somehow made sense to me. And, it was a really good script, and I wanted to tell the story. But I grew up in television. My father hosted a game show in New York in the mid-'70s called the Money Maze, which was a giant maze. And the husband would run through it, and the wife would stand above it going, go left, go right, go left. And which was sort of a perfect statement on television in the 70s for us.
An exclusive tell-all interview featuring explosive revelations and direct clapbacks at critics. But Maher wasn't buying it. He saw right through the desperation and believed hosting Clooney would do more harm than good for his show's reputation. According to insiders, Maher told producers, "Celebrities talking politics might get attention, but they don't always move the needle where it counts." This second rejection wasn't just a setback, it was a public humiliation for Clooney. After 2 rejections from Maher, tensions began boiling behind the scenes. Desperate to salvage his plan, Clooney personally reached out to Maher with one final pitch, an unscripted Q&A session where he would address audience questions directly. But even this wasn't enough to sway Maher. Insiders claim he told Clooney point blank, "This show isn't a rehab clinic for Hollywood egos." The repeated refusals left Clooney feeling humiliated and betrayed by someone he had once considered an ally. Maher didn't stop at rejecting Clooney. He took things further by delivering a scathing critique of Hollywood elites during one of his show's monologues. Without naming names, Maher mocked actors who confused political activism with relevance and ridiculed their attempts to use platforms like real-time for damage control. While he never mentioned Clooney directly, anyone following their feud knew exactly who he was targeting. The monologue went viral online, further cementing Maher's position as someone unafraid to call out even Hollywood royalty. With his plans for redemption thwarted by Maher, Clooney turned to other platforms like The Howard Stern Show.
Well, it's really fun. I haven't done a play in 40 years. Last time I did a play was at Steppenwolf in Chicago in 1986, so it's terrifying to me. Yeah.
George Clooney gets nervous.
Yes, and I often refer to myself in the third person. Yes, George Clooney gets nervous.
Well, we're excited. I bet Mal and the kids are excited. Are they going to be moving to New York while you're in the show?
They're in New York. We've been here the whole time.
What have they been up to?
The normal things that children do, which is apparently you have to educate them, which I was shocked by, but they're in school. So we're having fun. Fairly early on in the business, once things started happening, when I was sort of doing very well, I had a different take on how to earn a living in the business, which was at the time the salaries were going crazy. People were getting $20 million a film, but it was also taking the money out of the film, and you weren't able to make the kind of films you wanted to make. So I made a decision very early on to just work for back end and take the least amount of money so all the money would go on the screen.
But even Stern's team reportedly hesitated to book him due to concerns about his spiraling public image. For someone who had spent decades as one of Hollywood's most beloved figures, this sudden shift was devastating. Insiders describe Clooney as being in full meltdown mode, angry not just at Maher, but at an industry that seemed eager to distance itself from him. The battle between George Clooney and Bill Maher is more than just a clash of egos. It reflects deeper tensions within Hollywood itself. As audiences grow increasingly skeptical of celebrity activism and media platforms prioritize credibility over star power, even icons like Clooney are finding it harder to navigate today's cultural landscape. Whether this marks the end of Clooney's golden era or serves as a wake-up call for Hollywood remains to be seen. George Clooney versus Bill Maher isn't just another celebrity feud, it's a cautionary tale about how quickly fortunes can change in today's unforgiving media climate. For decades, Clooney was untouchable, a man whose charm could open any door in Hollywood. Now, he finds himself rejected by one of the industry's most influential voices and struggling to reclaim his place in the spotlight. Will he bounce back or fade into obscurity? Only time will tell.